Hello, and welcome to another edition of the book review blog. I am your book reviewer, and today we are going to review the book Crank by Ellen Hopkins. As if you remember my last post, it is a book that's kind of unusual because, as you can kind of tell, it's kind of thick. However, just trying to do a random page. However, it's written in poetic form. And it's a very easy read. It took me 2 days to read this book. It is Wednesday, and I just finished it, and I started Monday, so yay. Despite being, again, over 500 pages. I think the total is about 537 or 539, something like that. Anyway, it is about a girl named Christina Snow, who is 16 when the book starts. She comes from a divorced family. She lives with her mom, whose name is Marie. Her stepfather, his name is Scott. She has an older sister named Lee, who is away at college sometimes. So sometimes Lee is there and sometimes she's not. And a younger brother named Jake. And her father, or Christina, lives in Reno, Nevada with her family, and her father lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I don't remember if her father's name was given. It probably was, but I can't think of it right at the moment. So anyway, her father, even though she hasn't seen in number of years, pulls kind of a court card, the father card, and decides to make Christina come live with him for 3 weeks in Albuquerque during the summer. And her mom, even though she protests immensely, does agree to this. And so Christina starts the story is living with her father for 3 weeks. And in Albuquerque, Christina meets a boy named Adam, but he's also called Buddy. And he introduces her to the drug meth, which the street name is Crank, which is where the title of the book comes from. And Christina gets involved with meth, and she likes it. And after the stay with 3 weeks, she finds herself in love with Adam, but Adam has kind of his own problems. He's got another girlfriend named Lynx, kind of an unusual name, but and Lynx, at the end of the 3 weeks, has attempted suicide, so he is very torn. He's love you, but I love you, Christina, but I love Lynx, and I'm gonna stay with her and not with you. So she leaves Albuquerque very torn and very just confused, and kind of what you would imagine a 16-year-old girl that just kind of found that out would. So, but she, in the 3 weeks, she has become influenced and addicted to methamphetamine, and so she has to figure out other ways to get it. And through that, she meets two boys who kind of are influences in her life in Reno. One is named Brendan, and one is named Chase. And she initially finds herself being drawn to Brendan. He's a very, very cute lifeguard. He, on the outside, he seems very, very kind of clean cut, all American boy. And her family likes him right away, whereas Chase is kind of like a bad boy, and her mother keeps saying, "Oh, he's not your type. Why are you mixed up with him?" But both of them have connections with Crank, and both of them use it, and they both supply it to her. So she's tied to both. And through this obsession and addiction to meth, Christina becomes a whole nother person. She becomes this character that she calls Brie. And she does say that it's not kind of a schizophrenic double personality thing, but it seems that when she is on meth, she lets Brie kind of take over for her and do her talking. Whereas Christina is very meek and mild and is very kind of wanting to please people. Brie is the total opposite. She doesn't care what people think. She has no limits to what she wants to do and won't let anybody stand in her way. And especially because she's addicted to meth and she wants to get it, she does things that Christina would not even think of. And one of the things that she ends up doing is she agrees to go out with Brendan, and her family thinks he's very clean cut, and so they agree where he they are claiming that they're going to a concert, and they end up going to a party, and lots of things happen, and she tries different drugs there, and she growing a very big attraction for him, but she is a virgin and doesn't want to give her virginity to him, but he's on meth also, and so he pushes her and he eventually rapes her. And so um that's very bad for Christina, and she does not like that at all, and she feels very vulnerized, and um especially since it's her first sexual experience, being raped like that. And so she ends up going back to Chase. She forgets about Brendan because she never wants to really deal with him again. And she ends up going and staying with Chase. And so it's the book is basically like she's staying with Chase, and because her parents don't like him, she's skipping out of house and meeting him up and going to other wild parties, and having just very wild, unprotected sex with Chase, um, and she tries other drugs. She tries ecstasy. She tries heroin. She doesn't like heroin. She likes ecstasy a little bit. She does other things like slits her wrist and has other people drink her blood. I've never heard of that. So that was kind of gross for me. And this kind of goes on and on and on, and she realizes half the time that she wants to stop, and she's realizing that she's going too far because her family don't yet know that she's on drugs, but they of course know that she's very different, that she's being very cross with them and being very short with them. Like, she curses her mother out a couple times and doesn't want to be in any events or do anything that she normally does without drugs. So they're realizing that there's a problem, and they try to help her. They try to ask her several times, are you doing drugs? Are you okay? Is there something we can help you with? And she's like, no, I don't want to deal with this. I'll tell them no, even though I am. And she always realizes that she's lying and always is very remorseful for that. But yet, the meth is such a horrible drug for her and totally takes over her life that she can't find herself stopping. And she ends up becoming pregnant, and through quick thinking of when was the last time I had my period, she realizes that the child was conceived when Brendan raped her. So even though she wants desperately that to be to have Chase be the father, she realizes that Brendan is, and this is when she's 17. She turns 17 then, and so she's faced, okay, I'm 17, pregnant with a baby who's pretty much, she thinks, addicted to meth, and what am I dealing with that? Do I want an abortion? Do I want to give it up for adoption? Do I want to keep the baby? Anything that kind of a teenage girl finds, if she finds out being pregnant, without the drugs involved. So, but she ends up keeping the baby, and she tells her mother and her stepfather finally, and they agree to help her, and that is kind of when the book ends. She does give birth. She has a boy, and she it doesn't end happily. It's she finds herself letting go a little bit of her addiction to meth, but it's not like this is a story of I'm clean and I'm once I found out I was pregnant, I quit it cold turkey and I'll never do it again. She realizes that she's human and that she might actually and fall into that habit again and make mistakes and use again. So, however, I really liked the book. Um, I like this author and I like how she does things. She does do several other books in this kind of fashion with a story told in poetic form. A friend of mine yesterday was asking me what my favorite poem was, and I had to kind of explain that it's not like a bunch of poems all dealing with kind of the addiction of methamphetamine. It's one girl's story, but told through poetic verse, I guess. They don't rhyme, so or hardly ever any of them rhyme. So, but it's just kind of free verse. I like it. This book does have actually a sequel, and it's called Glass, and I've read that. I like it. And then it also kind of has a triquel, if you will. I don't know what the third installment for that is. I have not read that yet. It's her newest version. I would love to read it. Maybe I'll do a review on both Glass and the newest book, which is called Fallout soon. But I liked this book. I recommend it. It's recommended for people over 14, and I agree. It has cursing in it. It has, of course, a ton of drug use. Has sex in it, so you might not want to give this to your 10-year-old or so. Anyway, that's it for that review. The next book that I plan to review is another Stephen King book. It is Gerald's Game, and I've read it before, and I'll read it again and do a review. It's oh so fun. So I'll have you look forward to that, and happy reading.